Hi, Math Ninjas. So we are on day 16 of our preview and review standards. Let's get started with number 1. Make sure you're on day 16. All right, you read along with me as I read out loud. Ben's basement workroom has an area of 144 square feet. He has a table. Here's the table, a counter right here, and a desk to use as a work surface. What is the total area and square feet of the work surface? All right, well, do you remember how to figure out area? Length times width, okay? So when we have our boxes and there's that grid, another strategy is you could count them. Okay, so let's do length times width first, and then we can check our work by counting. So if we look at the counter, we've got 2, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we've got 2 times 8, which equals what? 16. Okay, now let's look at the table. We've got 1, 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 times 4 equals what? Write it down. You should have written 8. And then we've got our last area, the desk. We've got 1, 2, 3 times 1, 2. 3 times 2 equals what? 6, right? So then if it's the total area, we are what? We're going to add these 3 numbers together. Go ahead and add those and see if you can find your answer. And remember, if we're moving too fast, you can always pause it and then push play. All right, so I would do 6 plus 6 first because I know 6 plus 6 equals 12. And then I can add 12 plus 8. 12 plus 8 equals what? 20. So I put down my 0. I carry my 2. Then I'm going to add my tens place, 2 plus 1, which equals what? 3. So what's the total area? B, 30, right? Make sure you're bubbling nice and dark and hard. All right, and then you can always check your work by counting the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep, right? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Because you are only counting the area inside those boxes. All right, let's see if you can do number 2. A figure is made up of square units, as shown. Each unit square is 1 square inch. What is the area of the figure in square inches? Now let's stop and look at this shape, and let's look at this shape. What's different? Well, this one has different areas, different squares, and different spaces. It's not just a straight rectangle or square. So we could split it up and multiply, or if it's small like this, could we just count them? Yes, go ahead and count them. And remember, when you're counting, you're making that mark so that you can see and you know which ones you've counted. So go ahead and count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, more area. Each unit square in figure 3 is 1 square meter as shown. What is the area of the figure in square meters? So they want you to figure out the area for E and for F. Go ahead and do that now. You've learned 2 different strategies. You can multiply and add, or you can count. You pick which one you like the best. Okay, remember, if I'm moving too fast, go ahead and hit pause. So if we look at E, length times width, 1, 2, 3 times 1, 2, 3. 3 times 3 equals what? 9. So even if you counted and you didn't multiply, you should have gotten 9. Now let's look down at F. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we've got 1, 2, 3. 7 times 3, or if you counted all the squares in F, you should have gotten 21. So then, what's our next step? We have to add them together. And 9 plus 21 equals 30. Okay? All right. Marcel has 20 postcards from his trip. He gets, oh, I'm circling. He gets 4 postcards from each of his trips. How many trips has Marcel gone on? All right, well, I saw each, but I know I can't multiply because 20 times 4 is 80, and that's not a choice. So let's think about this. If he gets 20 postcards and he has 20 altogether, he gets 4 from each of his trips. We're not going to multiply. What are we going to do? We're going to divide. So what is 20 divided by 4? Go ahead and bubble in your answer. You should have gotten 5. Brad has 15 model cars. He places an equal number of model cars onto 3 shelves. How many cars does he place on each shelf? Well, I know when you place an equal number of cars, that's kind of my key word. That's what I'm going to box. What do you do when you start with a big number and you're placing that big number, you're splitting it up? What do? Go ahead and write the symbol. You divide, right? And you're dividing those 15 cars into 3 shelves. So what would you get? What is 15 divided by 3? Go ahead and bubble it in. You should have got an A. Okay? You did give me a ninja hiya. Hiya. All right, we're almost done. We're on the next page. A book has 72 pages. Divided, box it, into 9 equal chapters. How many pages are in each chapter? Go ahead and write your equation. What would that look like? You should have written 72 divided by 9. And what is 72 divided by 9? Or 9 times what equals 72? Remember, use multiplication to help you. What did you get? You should have gotten 8. All right, we're going to go ahead and skip number 7 because they wrote it wrong. All right, so we're moving on to number 8. The deep end of the pool is 3 meters wide and 7 meters long. The shallow end of the pool is 3 meters wide and 2 meters long. Which equation shows how to find the total area of the pool? All right, well, we know area, right? What is area? How do we solve it? Length times width. So we've got a deep end that we need to figure out and a shallow end that we need to figure out. So for the deep end, how would we solve that? 3 times 7 equals what? Write it down. 21, right? And then our shallow end, we've got 3 times 2 which equals what? 6. So when I add those together, what do I get? 27, right? So the first thing you could do is you could look, oh my gosh, a couple of them have 27, but I know this one doesn't. So what can you do? Eliminate that one, right? All right, take a minute. Which one would show this equation? All right, well, if you look at B, we've got 3 times 2 plus 3 times 7. Is that pretty much what we did? So you should have picked B. Okay, friends? All right, the last two have those odd shapes, but they don't have the square, the area. So we're going to have to dissect it and make it into 2 shapes, okay? So what is the area in square meters of the figure shown? So there's different ways that you can split it up, but I know the length here is 8. So if I draw a line here, that makes sense. That's 8, so this has to be 8. This is 2, so then this has to be 2, right? So how do we solve that? Well, 8 times 2 equals what? 16, right? Okay, well then let's look here. Right here is 5, and this is 4. Well, this whole thing says that it was 7, but if we split it up and this is 2, then what would it make this? 2 plus what equals 7? Or look over here, 5, right? So then how would we solve the area for this rectangle? 5 times 4 equals what? 20, right? So then we have to do one more step. We have to do something with the 16 and the 20. We have to add them. So what did you get? You should have gotten 36. Okay? So I want you to try number 10 on your own and see if you can do it. What would be a way that you could split it up? All right, if you need to keep working, hit pause until you figure it out. All right, so let's see. I'm going to kind of eyeball it again, and I'm going to say, well, I know this is 8, this is 2. So if I split it like this, that would be 2, and this whole thing would be 8, right? So how am I going to figure out the area for this rectangle? 8 times 2. And 8 times 2 equals 16. So now, if I look here, I've got 3. So I know this has to be 3. Well, they said this whole thing is 5. So if this whole thing is 5, and I already came up with 2, what would go here? 3, right? So then how are we going to figure out the area for this square? 3 times 3 equals what? 9. So then what's our last step? You should be adding 16 plus 9. And when you add 16 plus 9, what do you get? 25. Okay, guys? All right, so remember, every day you're going to do the same number. Let me get one. in the warm-ups. So today, for the warm-ups, you're doing day what? I can't see it. Day 16. Okay, so you are only doing these two problems, 43 and 44, and then you are having someone check it. If these are tricky for you, or if the area or any of the topics that we covered are tricky, you need to make sure you spend a little extra time working on it, okay? All right, day 16. Good job today, ninjas.